Hello, and welcome to the McKinney-Vento staff training. During this training, we will understand the McKinney-Vento Act legislation and our school's responsibilities, learn the definitions of homelessness under this law, the supports for our homeless population of students, and our PCA protocols. Here are some key elements of the McKinney-Vento Act. We are required as a school to identify students who qualify under the McKinney-Vento Act, to assure that each child of a homeless individual and each homeless youth has equal access to the free, appropriate public education, including a public preschool education. We send referrals to healthcare services, dental services, mental health and substance abuse services, some housing services, and other appropriate services as needed. We inform of all transportation services when applicable. We designate a liaison for homeless children and youth. We remove barriers to students receiving an appropriate education and remain in the school of origin if it's a student's choice and in their best interest. There are specific subgroups that are at a higher risk for homelessness. Youth with less than a high school diploma are at a 346% higher risk of homelessness. Youth in a household that makes less than $24,000 annually is at 162% higher risk of homelessness. 200% of youth who are unmarried and parenting are at a higher risk of homelessness. African American youth are at an 83% higher risk of homelessness. Hispanic non-white youth are at a 33% higher risk of homelessness, and our LGBTQ youth are at 120% higher risk of homelessness. This data comes from the Voices of Youth. As you can see, there are certain groups and certain students that might go towards homelessness, and we want to do what we can to prevent that. Here is the legal definition of homelessness. Number one, it is a lack of a fixed, regular, and adequate nighttime residence. Number two, the sharing of housing with other persons due to loss of housing and economic hardship, or a similar reason. Number three, students who are living in motels, hotels, trailer parks, or camping grounds, or are living in an emergency or transitional shelter or abandoned hospitals. Number four, the primary nighttime residence that is a public or private space that is not usually designated or designed for regular sleeping accommodations for humans. And number five, living in cars, parks, public spaces, abandoned buildings, or any substandard housing, bus or train stations. The key to qualifying is economic hardship, not choice or benefit. As you can see back at number one, is the lack of a fixed, regular, and adequate nighttime residence. What that means is it is probably not an adequate nighttime residence if an entire family of five is living in one bedroom of a family member or friend's home. It might be fixed and it might be regular because it's a place to live. However, it's not adequate. A family of five in one bedroom of a larger home is not an adequate space. That goes along with number two, sharing housing with other persons. That alone, sharing housing, is not a definition of homelessness. However, due to a loss of housing, for example, the landlord is now selling the space or they're becoming evicted, and or there was some sort of pipe burst in the home or mold found, and all of a sudden the family is displaced. Or an economic hardship. Someone's lost their job. They can no longer afford rent, and so they're forced to now share a home with a family member or a friend, or something similar. Those may lend itself to a homeless situation or an unhoused situation. So please make sure that you communicate with the special programs department, and we will determine whether or not this family that you're working with is indeed homeless. Homelessness doesn't necessarily mean on the street. In our minds, when we think of homeless, we usually are thinking of people who are in their cars or vans or in an RV on the side of the road. But homelessness can take various forms. Students experiencing homelessness may be in an out of appropriate place to live. So 72% of those who slept in streets are sheltered or couch surfed. So these people have a bed, but they're not in a fixed, regular nighttime space. Maybe they're bouncing around month to month, or they feel unsafe where they're at. So just remember, homelessness and the definition of homelessness can sometimes be gray. And we do need to work with our families with compassion and with openness to ensure that we are helping them to thrive academically in our school and that we're removing barriers where we can. So, some potential barriers that can happen for students who are homeless. Potential barriers, they're moving a lot. They might have to change schools or struggle to enroll in a school. Maybe they don't have the adequate technology to get enrolled. They might be hungry, tired, depressed, don't have access to school supplies or access to curriculum or a quiet place to study. They don't have reliable transportation, which really doesn't occur in our school's dynamic because students are with their parents. And they don't have they don't have a parent or guardian to guide or help them, which would be our unaccompanied youth, students who are not with their legal guardians. What can these barriers have? What potential effect on their education? It could be that they're chronically absent. They have a lower grades or poor academic performance overall. They might have some special needs that need to be tended to. They score more poorly on assessment tests, and or they can drop out of school. And all of these potential effects can and will has happened here at PCA. We need to be aware and cognizant of supporting our students where we can. So what are the supports that we offer here? Our liaison will work with you, the HST, and families to ensure that they have the resources that they need. We'll ensure that there is a timely processing of curriculum and supplies, using their planning amounts, ensuring that they receive academic supports in classes, programs, etc. We'll ensure that they have computers and hotspots when necessary, free of planning amounts. We may be able to provide wraparound services like basic groceries for the neediest of families, and this is by a case-by-case basis. We share our PCA Cares website, which is organized by region. It includes food, housing, and other health resources. We provide backpacks with basic school supplies and hygiene kits. And we may be able to have an emergency hotel stay for crisis situations. And that's really a case-by-case basis. It's 1 or 2 days in order for a family who truly is in a crisis to get themselves settled and make a plan. For protocols and guidelines, we want to ensure that the proper proof of residence is submitted and uploaded in Pathways. So you'll look for that yellow asterisk on the student's dashboard. If there is a yellow asterisk and the student is a McKinney-Vento student, then we'll want the McKinney-Vento form to be uploaded as the proof of residence for that family. The liaison will contact the HST and the family to offer supports as needed. If you have a student that was homeless last year, but they now have a stable residence and that yellow asterisk is still there, please contact the Special Programs Department, PCA Cares, at pacificcoastacademy.org. If the family is in a crisis or dire situation and you think they might qualify for wraparound services, please contact the Special Programs Department. And then, of course, keep me and your team principal posted on any supports and interventions that the student is receiving and or needing. Thank you so much. Please direct all questions to PCA Cares at pacificcoastacademy.org.